Wrestling Break. Welcome back to our brand new, almost brand new, 2 weeks old, 1 week old segment, two highs and two lows from Dynamite. I'm Matura Scenes and Josh Custodio, joined by Ryan Schapp, our intrepid producer from the AEW Dudes. Ryan, thank you for being here. I like doing this. This is it's fun to go through the whole show, which of course we do, twitch.tv/wrestling brain every single week the moment Dynamite ends, but then sort of give this more funnel view of the show. How'd you feel after last week's ending?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed breaking down things we liked and didn't like, because it forces you to if it's a tough week, you got to look for something you like, and it just kind of it keeps the cynicism at the door. So I like finding highs and lows, and there's always something to find in an episode of AEW Dynamite, and I think we found that. I think we'll find that in our talking about it today.
Well, perfectly said. And now let's see you do something very revealing. I'm going to let you go in either direction, Ryan. Do you want to start with one of your highs, or do you want to start with one of your lows? We're going to infer a lot out of your choice here.
I'm going to start with a low, and it's not a big low. It is... I talked about it last week. I'm talking about it again this week. I'm not the biggest fan of the formatting of AEW Dynamite. And I don't know about you, but I was very excited about this main event of Okada versus Bandito. That is a match I want to see. And for it to get started, ringing the bell at about 6:54, 6:55, I knew we were not
the show, for those of you not on the West Coast.
Yeah, so it basically starting in the final 8 minutes of their broadcast window. Yes, there was an overage, and the match turned out really good. That's something I want to have time and attention for, and a spotlight on. So it was a good match, but it takes it away from me. It's when that you're not going to get everything it could be, and it just kind of puts in the back of your mind, okay, this is already abbreviated, and they're going to start out working fast and tightening it up.
Yeah, I agree. It more makes me wish that they used restraint other weeks, because if you normally are ending the show right at the top of the hour, and then you see that you only have 5 minutes to go with Okada and Bandito, you're going, oh, hang on. And then they announce, we're going to let this one go until the finish. Then you've really got something cooking. Like, you have this ability, this bullet in the chamber to pull to make some of your main events more exciting. But since everything has an overrun, it does just sort of feel like this. Oh, okay, I know what this is.
What about you? What's your first one out of the chamber?
For a low, I'm just going to say that the tag team division on AEW Dynamite, it felt like we were having a resurgence of actual 2v2 matches on the AEW show. And it feels like we're very much gotten away from it. It's a show of very much 8-man and 6-man tags. That's not inherently an issue. But if you want to build a tag team division, it is very difficult to do. Forget about the main event scene, like even the mid card or anything. If you're never giving any of these tag matches time on Dynamite, no, on Collision, it does feel like we get a little bit more of the tag presentation. But for me, a guy who just loves high-end tag team wrestling a great deal, I want to feel like the division is having movement and gaining motion. It's not like no teams are ever having any exchange. However, it just doesn't feel like there is a who's better than who hierarchy being established in the AEW tag division right now. And for me, that's a real shame. I'm considerably more interested in the trios division, rather in the tag division, than I am the trios division. I prefer tag matches to trios matches. So to see sort of the resurgence of that and then feeling like it going away, it has bummed me out. I'd like to see the return to some tag team wrestling on AEW Dynamite.
Well, yeah, on Dynamite, coming out of a very hot Wrestle Dream where, the tag team championship match was one of the show stealers. You kind of want to see that momentum carried forward, and you didn't. And it's it can really be a start and stop sometimes with the way they book tag teams, and that can get frustrating for a fellow like yourself that likes high end tag team wrestling. It's tough.
How about for you, Ryan? Give me either a high or your second low.
I'm gonna give my first high and it's a good pun, good play on words, because I'm very high on AEW promoting the Darby Allin climb Mount Everest,
Mm.
and I love that the man planted a literal AEW flag there, and I love that he has. I personally think in my mind he took the photo, he took it with him. I don't think there's an AEW. That's my wishful thinking, and that is the flag, because that as a weapon, as a signature signature item for Darby Allin. Like he already had his skateboard, and now he's got this AEW flag that's just got so much significance and so much meaning to him that if he's going to choke you out with it, he is going to put as much into choking you out as much effort as he took climbing the goddamn mountain. So I like that. I like what it means, what it symbolizes for AEW, and I love that it is a very simple and effective visual for a wrestler as dynamic and unique as Darby. I think I'm mostly impressed that they came up with something else for him that I'd not necessarily not seen before, but just immediately like hooked me. Like that is the flag that was on Mount Everest. I love it. I don't know about you. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I like it a lot too for all the reasons you said, but I also like it because it builds in this wonderful heel turn for him. He's already a guy who plays with fire, and then if he's carrying that AEW flag around for let's
Oh,
say a year, and then he throws it in the middle of the ring in a trash can, bunch of lighter fluid in on the flag. Can you imagine? People love Darby. Boo, boo, no lighter
oh.
fluid, lights a match. None of this never met. I poured everything, whatever you want to say, and then he burns the flag. It builds in such an incredible moment for him from get. And I always like when props in wrestling or things that can be used to move stories ahead or behind.
Also, they're so bad at merch at AEW. They should be moving a hell of a lot of those flags. I mean,
Yeah, I'd hang a flag back here.
Me too. I want a Darby flag.
Give me the Darby Allin flag. Is it just an AEW flag? I don't even know.
Yeah,
I think it is just
one-sided AEW
it
flag.
just shows like bricks in AEW. I have this right.
There you
But I'm
go.
with you. I like it for him carrying it. For me, I will also do a high. The Hurt Syndicate versus the Ops. I was just talking about tag team wrestling going away on AEW, and it feels like maybe what's replaced that. And this isn't a complaint necessarily, although I don't feel like it's the style that I'm most endeared to. A lot of the 6-man, some of the All-Star 8-man tags, but a lot of the 6-man tags are very AEW house styled, where it's high action, very built around keeping the crowd engaged based off of the moves. Let's give them something to talk about very frequently. But sometimes that stuff doesn't register with me as much as I'm hoping it can. But like this match showed a nice sort of cut on the other side of it, where you can have these big multi-man matches that are really, really built around these dynamics and personalities and characters clashing. Like Samoa Joe knows what to take away from the crowd in this match. He knows that they all want to see Bobby Lashley get in there and take on Powerhouse Hobbs, and these two absolute Goliaths collide in the middle. So every time that opportunity comes up, Samoa Joe tags himself in, blind tag, and the crowd hates it. And then by the time they finally build to these two guys colliding, the crowd are on their feet, and it's not because, and again, I'm not dumping on the other style. There's tons of matches I like that are more, whatever PWG pilled or whatever you'd say. But certainly something like this is a little bit more to what I naturally gravitate towards. And frankly, given so much of the opposite lately, stood out to me as something that was a little bit more grounded and to my interest. So I was big time into this, thought it kicked off the show in a really nice fashion, and showed there's just a lot of ways to do the damn thing.
I'm gonna counteract that with a low, and that is another week of MVP taking the pin for the Hurt Syndicate, taking the L.
Well, on Saturday they get the win. So they did last week Wednesday. They did pin Shelton Benjamin. They have to get credit for it. They released that valve.
That's fair, and maybe
But
I'll
it is
give
tiring to be like, okay, MVP again.
I don't want to dump on that. I'll give you a different low. I don't want to dump on Chris Statlander, but I'm not we reviewed her promo, and in particular, it was her promo on Dynamite tonight backstage. They are big shoes to fill. It is a hard road to follow, and following in the footsteps of timeless Tony Storm. But I need a little bit more believability and a little bit more of ability to deliver those lines. And my biggest pet peeve in wrestling is people trying to remember their lines, trying to act like wrestlers. And I like Chris Statlander, but they need to put her in a spot that makes a little bit more sense, or just they need to refine what she says a bit, because I like the messaging, but I need that a little more locked in, a little more dialed if you're going to be carrying that AEW Women's Championship torch.
Yeah, I would really just consider a manager for her. She has enough ties to people in the company who could do it. I think I had said Chuck Taylor on the show a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's really something I'd consider. I thought she was serviceable tonight. I didn't think it was one of her worst ones, but like you say, Tony creates such a high bar for these promos, and I thought that Mercedes has been on the up and up with her promos as well these last 2 weeks. So yeah, it's tough and expectations are high, and
Yep.
AEW is a promo and work rate fed, and so it is tough if you, and I think Chris has no problems whatsoever and is an absolute leader as it pertains to having good matches in AEW. I think her and Willow Nightingale street fight is right up there with as much as I've enjoyed any AEW women's match. However, it does stand out when they're giving you, this mic time, and you don't feel like the world champion. It feels like you're losing something in those moments, not gaining them.
I think it's tough because they're promos from Samoa Joe and Mox that just absolutely delivered and made you buy into what they were selling and believe in them, and kind of encapsulate everything they want their programs to be about. To kind of see another champion kind of not maybe be in the slow lane a bit. I think it was tough and really stood out just because the bar was so high with Mox and Joe tonight.
For my other high, I love this match. Jon Moxley versus Kyle O'Reilly. Not only putting on a match that is very much to the stylistic appeal. A lot of the matches that I really enjoy could be placed under this mold, again, very loosely, but maneuvering between different styles in the match, having very clear stages. Beyond that, the continued psychological decay of Jon Moxley coming to life in the ring as Kyle O'Reilly's strikes and submissions start to get through to him. He gives a big old forearm to the referee to force a disqualification, and giving Kyle O'Reilly a win over Jon Moxley on Dynamite, putting him in some pretty royal company. Beyond that, I just think that there is this attention paid by Jon Moxley that I appreciate. And when he has not a history with Kyle O'Reilly, but clearly is somebody that I think he has had an eye on, somebody that he likes, it's like, okay, that's the guy that'll get the DQ win. And we'll go out there and we'll sort of enter his wheelhouse for the match. Let him do his submissions. Let him do his Muay Thai plums positions. Let him knee me to the body. And when I go to his wheelhouse, that can be something that breaks my confidence. I'll be curious to see who else he does this with. If he goes and sort of it'd be so great to have a Zack Sabre Jr. on the roster, somebody so stylistically pure where it's okay, I'll get my confidence back. I'll go grapple him. And then he's getting tapped out and he does something else to not. So I like this arc so much for him. And to be able to tell a story that he is trying to tell and have a match that I like along the way, I mean, that's just so much of what I like about wrestling. So Kyle O'Reilly, he's a Vancouver guy like myself. I got to see him front row at so many shows. He was our Vancouver champion for ages. I've been a long-term fan of his, but I thought tonight was, you love seeing a guy like that get a singles match against a guy like Moxley on the A show. And I really thought they delivered. I had no trouble getting into this match in a big way. A lot of fun.
One thing I really like, what you pointed on, you mentioned was the effort, the attention to detail that Mox has. I can remember, in the era of the disgruntled wrestler podcast appearance, Mox on Jericho's podcast, and he rattles off all these ideas and how bad and how dumb everybody is. And not that I doubted him, but I just always remembered, all right, okay, pal, let's see what you can really do, And
it's not maybe so easy or whatever. Yeah.
And it turns out if you give him the runway, you give him the trust, and you give him an opportunity to spread his wings creatively, he produces this incredibly believable product with unmatched continuity. And as vague as he is being, and as vague as that direction might be, you also kind of just buy into it more and can kind of read between the lines and get an understanding. He leaves more to the imagination, and then when he does come out and tell you what's up, you go, oh, that's even better than what I could have was thinking. So gotta hand it to
How
Mox.
I would have done it. Yeah, that corner was turned for me when I read his book, Ryan. He came across way more creative and thoughtful, and maybe enjoyed the arts more than the guy that I was maybe imagining. And now it's just so clear to me. I'm not saying he didn't have some creative misses early in the Death Riders and that some stuff hasn't been one note over his career. But if you ask me, how are John Moxley's creative instincts? I'd say very good. I would say very, very good. He has good creative instincts. Even the story that we all know about him pitching to CM Punk, it's like, okay, granted, pitching, hey, what if I squash you, is one thing, but pitching it within the lens of like, hey, I saw this movie that had this really effective comeback. How about we do something like that? I think he is a guy that is thinking about things on this level. And even if that will produce the odd miss, I just appreciate, as a viewer of all this stuff, a guy who is treating it with that level of attention.
I love that you brought up the Punk thing, and yeah, it's a squash, but he brought it up in the vein, under the umbrella of like, this is what happens in Rocky 3. And for two Punk men such as ourselves to hear Punk respond like, no, I never saw Rocky 3. And I'm like, come on, dude. Like, fuck. We're like, you're both good. We like both of you. Like, play ball.
Yeah, even if you haven't seen Rocky 3, you're not familiar with the story of Rocky.
He's an underdog. Whoa,
yeah,
what?
Yeah, hang on. What are you talking about here? Hang on a second. Rocky who? Balboa? How do you say that? All right, man.
I'll give my last high tonight, and spoiler and shocker, surprise, surprise, it has to do with Mox. Mox was a 3-segment beast tonight.
Yeah.
And he did another tape piece, and he's in the bathroom. Perfect symbolism here visually. He's looking at himself in the mirror. We've all done that. It is the perfect representation. And we all saw how good the promo was. It was short and sweet. The tape piece, I should say. I loved what he did to outline the Death Riders goals and intentions. But one line stood out to me that it's my high. And he goes, he's talking about Darby Allin. He goes, I swore his body was going to fold. I believed in my heart he was going to fold. So that made me a liar. But I know exactly who I am when I look in the mirror. Brother, that could be in any damn movie. Name awesome. Your actor, name your performer. Like, it's just outstanding. It gave me immediate chills when I saw it, and it just made me buy more into Mox and buy into the Death Riders.
When he goes on from there, even to like show the cracks that he's almost convincing himself into these ideals and principles of the Death Riders, and he's forgetting his words and frustrated with himself for it. And I just thought, I'm totally with you. He was expert level here. And I mean, I just praised him for minutes, but you really do have to give it up for a guy who can not only communicate so effectively once he's in the ring, but is able to take one of these cool shots, cinematic promos that are different from what we normally see and get something out of them, right? Yeah. It'd be a lesser talent could be put in sort of a more, the expectations are raised when you see these off location shot differently. And there are people who could drown in that situation, and Mox swims better than anybody.
Couldn't agree more.
My final low tonight, Ryan. I don't think puppet stuff is funny. I saw there were plenty of people who thought this was funny, that this worked for them. I think that's outstanding. All of wrestling cannot be for everybody. I'm simply on here saying 2 of my high points and 2 of my low points. If somebody would have walked in the room while I was watching that, I would have been embarrassed to have been watching it. I'll be honest. I think Harley Cameron's you couldn't really overstate this. She's an incredibly talented person. She can sing and dance and do great impressions and play guitar, ventriloquism. I mean, this is a deeply talented person. And so I understand wanting to put those talents on your show. She's on your roster, but generally the way they employ them, I find just irritating. I don't find that her talent is endearing. It's like your instincts are to be irritating and annoying, and I didn't like that Renee had to listen to the puppet and engage with it as if it's a person. I know that it's wrestling and you were expected to take certain bridges across with it and not question everything, but everything about that segment was not how I prefer to have my matches built, and not just really in keeping with my sense of humor or whatever you'd say.
Yeah. I had a tough time with that too. As I was watching it, I was like, "Oh man, she said it's." And I hate to fantasy book here, but when I was watching it, she's like, "Oh, Harley," she's saying her by name, and I was waiting for the reveal where she pulls her out, and it's Statlander doing it, or that they were both. Just that, not that anything would have made sense. I just really didn't like the execution.
I was surprised it was Harley too, because she had said Harley I think 3 times in the promo. It's like, you're there, Harley.
And it made me think of like, oh, here's one surprise here, and then there's another one here. 2 smoke screens. I'm like, it just kind of felt a little New Yorky to me. It reminded me of Freaky Seth. I had y'all fooled. I wasn't hurt. I'm like, but it didn't matter. You didn't need to do that.
Awesome, brother.
I will say I like the age-old trope in wrestling, and that if there is a cake on screen, somebody's going through it. Literally, my first wrestling memory that I remember, like the first time I watched wrestling and liked it, it was Shawn Michaels' birthday, and Sonny brought out a cake, and they put it in her, and they did that, and I was like, I have a soft spot for cakes, but everything else about this was just kind of dumb, and again, Harley Cameron is incredibly talented. You listed all of her attributes and abilities, and she's a great wrestler too. But
well, okay, I don't know if I'd say she's a great wrestler.
She is a talented individual. But they put her in the same spot. Goofy, loud, dumbass that is like, Harley, don't. I'm gonna hand you the dynamite. Don't fumble it now. And she's typecast herself, and maybe the office has typecast her, but it's just like she's in an annoying corner, and she's not climbing out of it anytime soon.
Yeah, and tough spot to be typecast in. I don't really know what else you do with her, because I do think her wrestling is a little bit limited, but I also understand wanting to try and find a role for her. Is that See, this is probably the tricky thing, because even as a manager, it's tough, because she's so talented that if you had like somebody who couldn't really talk or wasn't some super personality, it's like, well, who cares about them? Like, I want to listen to Harley Cameron, this very engaging, entertaining person. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where she eventually lands. But yeah, no more puppets, please. Did not find the puppeteering funny on Dynamite. And that's it for me, Ryan. That's 2 highs and 2 lows for your man. We got through both. If I'm done, you're done for sure.
We're done, baby.
Look at that, folks. Well, we appreciate you all very much. Of course, if you want the full shows, we're live every Monday and Wednesday at Twitch, 7 in the West, 10 in the East. That's the moment Dynamite ends on Wednesday. You'll love it, I promise. If you're here on YouTube, hit follow down below, hit like, tell a friend about the channel if you don't mind. We're trying to put a little bit more effort. These 2 high, 2 lows, these are exclusive to YouTube, so we're trying to put a little bit more effort over here. As you can see by the numbers in the videos, we've put extremely little in. So give us a hand as we're trying to help this match the Twitch experience a little bit more. We appreciate it very much, and we'll see you later.
Brick by brick, baby.
Brick by brick. Hey, thanks for checking out that video. Next step, hit follow down below. Step after that, head over to twitch.tv/WrestlingBrain. We're live every Monday and Wednesday, and on pay-per-view weeks, or just when we feel like talking about wrestling. It's many more shows than that. You can hit follow over there to be alerted every time we go live. If you need even more, patreon.com/J0SHC has a free tier and a paid tier. Check those out and see if any suit you fine. We'll see you then. And like Hiroshi Tanahashi says, love and energy.